Monday, 6th or 7th of September, 7 p.m. We have part 2 of Simon Bishop, or Tattoos by Bish, on Instagram. People that did listen last night, you can hear he's like literally one of the OG travellers, man, from the UK, doing multiple tours through America, and that were big drives that he did. Hey everyone, thanks for joining in again. So tonight, I think we're going to just a little bit of a recap on last night, where we got up to, where he was in Broome. A few people have asked about the tattoo machines he was selling for a guy called Mickey B. So we'll get a bit of info on that. And then I think Sydney sort of really kicks off. So I'll just bring Bish into the room, and then we will get rolling again for part 2 of what I imagine is going to be another great one. So I just sent you that request, Bish, so it should come through any minute now, mate. Thanks for everyone for joining again. I hope people stayed around for Bish. You're back.
How are we going?
Good, mate. Good. I was just saying thanks to everyone for whoever stayed around for the late night chat last night. It got good.
Yeah, it was weird because I didn't have the internet and my son had gone to bed, but it was
well, hopefully tonight, mate, we'll get it back on track.
Yeah.
So cool. So all right, mate. So last night I think we got up to you were doing all your travelling and stuff, and you were in Broome. Did you actually tattoo in Broome?
Yeah, I tattooed Neil Cheatham, you know what I mean? I did this sort of a spaceship tattoo machine and everything on him.
Yeah.
A few other things there. I did a little bit of piercing and stuff like that.
Yep.
Because obviously
cool.
that coming into the equation at that stage in in the history as such, you know what I mean? So people were sort of that's really how I got around Australia, because I was doing piercing as well. So, I'd be piercing noses and ears and stuff like that. Just to Bob to get round, you know what I mean?
Mate,
which made it easier, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and made perfect in the travelling community back then. Piercing was all the rage, tattooing, and you being, a young guy and a new schooler.
Yeah, I had people propose me on the beach and stuff like that, because obviously I was heavily tattooed then. So, where'd you get your stuff done and what you did, and where'd you get your jewellery and all that sort of stuff. And, and I had a bag full of it. So it was just, it sort of worked hand in hand. It was really helpful, with me getting around Australia.
Yeah, amazing.
Deal. So,
awesome.
So I ended up doing that and then going down the East Coast with a load of friends, jumping in one of their cars. And I ended up back in Sydney. And obviously that was my 6 months up, because obviously I could only get 6 months at a time. So then the second trip, I ended up going back to England for a while. Only about 2 or 3 months, until I had enough money to come back. And then I ended up staying at the same backpack as I was always staying at, because I got a good repartee with the woman that owned it.
Yep.
And then I ended up I was doing the rounds, trying to find some work and everything else, trying to do what I had to do. I approached a few people, and then I ended up going to see Kiwi Kim, because obviously I met her when I met Guy Atchison in Chicago. She was doing a little visit.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, and then Josh Rowlink, lovely guy, brilliant tattooist, he just left. So she was sort of left in the lurch. So basically I just ended up going to work for her.
Yeah,
nice. And it was all good, I did about a year with her or whatever, and then I was actually on Coogee Bay Beach.
Yep.
And I bumped into this character called Chumley. I don't know if you know Chumley.
I know Chumley, yes. Kingy's mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chumley came up to me, approached me, and he's like, "Oh, where'd you get your tattoos from?" And then sort of mentioned to me, "Oh, my mate Trevor McStay's coming up. Have you heard of him?" And I said, "Yeah, I've heard of Trevor. I mean, I've seen a lot of his work in the magazines and stuff." And he said, "Well, perhaps we'll look up and we're going to have dinner or something,
Nice.
So, I think he was coming up to do Steve King's back. He did that big massive onion.
Yep.
So at the House of Pain there on Parramatta Road, and we ended up going out for dinner. We had a good crack and everything else.
Yep.
He actually came and he looked at all my portfolios and all this sort of stuff, and he's like, "Look, between me, you, and the gatepost," he said, "Paul was looking for somebody to go and work in Canada."
Nice.
Oh God, Paul Jeffrey.
Wow.
like my idol. You know what I mean? I was just like, man,
Yeah. Paul's the king. Yeah.
So I you know, I contacted him and sort of showed him some of the stuff. I sent him a load of pictures and bits and pieces, and we struck up a deal. And I think I went there. I think it was January or February of about '96.
Amazing.
So the deal was, we got over there, and he said, and I turned up, and he's gone, right, I've actually got 2 guys on board. He said, I wanted 1, but I've got 2. But we'll see how we go. He said, I got Troy Lane from down in Florida.
Miami or Florida?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, down in Miami. He worked for Ken Cameron and Michelle.
Yep.
Lovely guy. You know, I mean, he had a brilliant bodysuit. You know, I mean, a lot of it was done by Eddie Which. And so we ended up, it was a bit of a tag team. We worked together in the same room. We went out and enjoyed life in Calgary and everything else. And we had a laugh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was weird because obviously that time we were staying at Paul's, and Paul's, you know, it was great. You know what I mean? Wink would look after us, feed us and everything else. And the work was coming in. I mean, that shop was absolutely mental. I mean,
I imagine staying at Paul's, you're probably going back and working on your drawings every night as well. And
well, no, because he was quite regimental in the fact that basically you'd work the week, you'd get a load of drawings, and then on Monday on your day off, he would expect you to do all the drawings.
Okay.
And then on Monday afternoon, he'd come round and he'd sort of come round and sort of like give you right, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, and sort of steered you in the right direction. He was a brilliant teacher, you know what I mean? He was just basically, he didn't want something going out of his shop that he wasn't happy with, you know what I mean? So
fair
it
play.
was great. So it was a real learning curve, you know what I mean? Me and Troy, we sort of went out a lot and went to the bars and bits and pieces, and with Paul obviously as well, because obviously Paul likes to have a drink himself. He's a Jim Beam man. And then I ended up leaving Paul's because I ended up getting a flat. I got a flat right next door to the shop. And then my girlfriend came over, and we it just went from there. You know, she got a work permit and everything else. But, you know, Calgary's a lovely place, but it is cold a lot of the year. I think there's sort of window sort of between June and perhaps the end of August where it actually gets nice and hot, and you can see outside the week. But otherwise, it's freezing fucking cold. I remember walking to the supermarket with -6, and people are saying, "What the fuck are you doing? You can't walk to the supermarket in the bloody snow." You know what I mean? It's all into transport. You know what I mean? So you did what you did, but it was a learning curve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
hey, on a different note, like Paul's right into his cars and bikes, wasn't he?
Yes.
Like he liked his hot rods and stuff. So I imagine you guys clicked on that as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was big into his bikes. I mean, I think about 3 or 4 bikes at that stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just built a chassis for his 48 delivery Chevy. Yeah. So we ended up breaking up a deal, and basically, I got my ribs tattooed, and I chopped his top on his car for him.
Nice.
So good. You know, it was a good deal. You know, everything was cool as far as I know. And then he ended up getting it painted. And the next time I went there, I ended up seeing it all done and finished. You know.
Wow, amazing.
Scallops and black and blue. But no,
cool.
he had the time of the day for you. You know, sit down and he'd criticise your drawings and then critique them. You know what I mean? And sort of get you on the right track. Or you know, because it's his business. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You know,
and pretty much at that time, what was that, like mid-90s or like 98, did you say? Or
96 I went there because obviously my son was conceived there.
Yeah, cool.
We ended up parting ways for a little while, and then I ended up, after going to Paul's, I finished at Paul's, I think it was September, October. Yeah. And we were in the workings of getting all the paperwork and everything sorted out so I could become a resident and such, you know. And for some other reason, it fell through. Yeah. That was on his behalf. It was on my behalf. I'd done something naughty back in my day, and
they didn't give you the go ahead
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But with all that, I think like what people that are listening out there at that time, like pretty much like Paul Jeffries, Ed Hardy, Eddie Deutsch were the kings of Japanese tattooing. You know,
Oh
Henny,
yeah, yeah,
they were the kings of the world.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
they were heavy hitters. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
And I imagine you were going and doing conventions and stuff with Paul, or
we went to, I think we went to a national one down in Tucson, Arizona,
yeah,
and that was brilliant. You know, what I mean, we went on a little vacation for a week. You know, and it was good to
yeah,
sort of stretch legs because it was such a busy shop. You know, what I mean, the thing
yeah,
is, his shop was chock a block 24/7 on a
yeah.
Saturday. I remember getting up early in the morning, like about 6 o'clock in the morning, and you'd have people in the snow queuing up. No, I mean, this was a queue of about 30 people. And the thing is,
Wow.
they'd drive from Saskatchewan, Regina, and all those sorts of places.
Yeah,
Like they'd do 8 or 10 hours driving
yeah.
just to get tattooed on the day because Saturday was the only walking day that you could get tattooed.
Right. Wow.
And at
Yeah,
one stage there, I had the record of tattooing the most people in because we only worked from 12 until 6.
yeah.
And I did 14 tattoos in 6 hours. And
Nice.
I think Brett Schwitt, he
Yeah.
actually beat that. I think by another couple or something. I mean,
Wow.
don't get me wrong, little small sticker tattoos, small
But
butterfly
mate,
bungees, everything sort of, want big tattoos because that's not what we did. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's in the week. But even to do that, mate, that's still a lot because you're changing tubes, you're changing needles. It's not as if you're just like dipping and ripping with the same
Yeah.
gear.
But
You
the thing
know.
is, we had a good counter person. We had Mike Peace that was on the counter, and
Yeah.
basically, he would have everything lined up. So
Yeah.
basically, you finish the tattoo, you just change your stuff, and
Yeah.
obviously, you said how long you was going to take to do that tattoo, so the slot
Yeah.
was there. So
Yeah.
in the morning, they'd get the shop filled up with people. Wink would stand there, and she'd give them all the rundown. Right, today's walking day. Those that were first, please walk up to the counter.
Yeah.
Mike will deal with you, sort out the tattoos you want, and he will give you a time slot so they could
Yeah.
go away and have breakfast. Because obviously, some of them have been sitting out there for 3 hours or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cars running in the snow and everything else.
Yeah.
So it worked really, really well. He had a good layout, and it was a brilliant shop. You know what I mean? You met so many cool people from all over reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the deal. He'd line them all up, and then basically, as soon as you finished one tattoo, you cleaned up your tubes and cleaned your area, wiped everything down, and you were ready to do the next one.
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
it was good. It was good because obviously I learnt a hell of a lot. I mean, his portfolios. I think he had about, no word of a lie, he might have had about 6 or 7 portfolios, were about 2 or 3 inches thick, just full of photographs. I mean, people loved him, that they were coming from all over the place to get tattooed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what Tom Donovan, Tom Donovan came up one time, and I think he came for a week, and he actually got tattooed every single day.
Wow.
It was 4 or 5 days. He got whole of his back done, and mate, just seeing the exercise and how he went through it, and how he tattooed Tom and everything else. And Tom was brilliant. He's from Mississippi. He's got a nice studio down there, I believe, that I haven't actually been to, and I've always wanted to get down there. But yeah, I mean, you get all sorts of people. You get a few. Henning came a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a ball. You know what I mean? It was great meeting all these sorts of people, and especially going to the
Yeah.
convention. Paul would introduce you to everybody because I've worked for him and everything.
Yeah, you're part of the crew.
So, you're part of the crew sort of thing, you know what I mean? So it was good. And obviously, what did I do then? I ended up leaving, obviously, Smile and Buddha at that stage because of, obviously, this, I had to go and leave to sort out this paper so that I could return. And that obviously didn't happen. So when we went down to Miami, there was a convention down there. So we went and did the Miami convention, and Michelle Cameron, obviously, her father had passed, Lou from Tattoos by Lou. So we all went away, it was a tattoo convention. So there was people there, you know what I mean? They rented a massive big sort of nightclubs, and we all went, we just partied on and had a good time. But mate, there were so many heavy hitters there, Chris Trevino, Klaus Fullerman, you know, Tintin,
Yep.
you know, the Wrigleys, I think they were there as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
And, Richard Pinch.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's
Yeah,
the thing. Like Tattoos by Lou as well. Like in Miami, like for the younger people viewing it out now, like Army James, that's one of the stars of Miami, the TV
yeah,
show.
yeah.
He apprenticed with Tattoos by Lou. You know,
And
and Lou.
so did the other guy as well. I can't remember what his name is now.
Yep.
It's weird.
But yeah, that was the one. So many good people came from, you know, from Lou Studios.
Well, that when we actually went, I think that was the time I went down there, or was the second time? Because I actually went down there for a little vacation as well, and I
Yep.
stayed with my friend, you know, and they put me up for a few weeks, you know, and I was just sort of
Yep.
just sussing out Miami because obviously it's a beautiful city, you know, there's
Yep.
lots of art stuff and everything else, and basically Ken had the time to show me his machine shop and
Yep.
show me how to machines and go through all that sort of stuff. So it was a wealth of knowledge, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mel
totally.
was because she had 4 shops she was running,
Wow.
and Ken had his own shop, South Beach
Yep.
Tattoo,
Yep.
and yeah, it was a great time. You know, they've all said to me, you know, you're always more than welcome to come back at any stage you want to
Yep.
come back. We enjoyed you coming to stay with us. You know,
Yeah, awesome.
I did him big feed up. You know, I did a big Ruby Murray for him and everything else, and
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
good. I bought one of Ken's machines and some
Yep.
of his inks, some of his t-shirts.
Yep.
But you know, they're great people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, back then as well, like you mentioned, you know, Paul had you and Troy Lane in his house, you know, Ken and Michelle open up their house to you, that sort of thing. It was a different time than guest spots now, just sending someone, and this is not to diss it, but you know, we have guest artists in a shop. You just meet them from a DM and their portfolio online, and they'll come and work, and you know, you'll work and you might go out for dinner, but not a lot of, you know, ones, you know, you get welcomed into your house these days. Back then it was a smaller world and definitely more family orientated.
Yeah. So yeah, then so when I did that, and obviously I got the knockback. My son was about to be born, so he was born in January.
So you're literally like a gypsy tattooer.
Yeah. Oh, a bit of a flag.
Yeah.
But yeah, my son was supposed to be born 2 weeks. He came 2 weeks early, so he was born on the 14th of January. I ended up coming 2 weeks late.
Yep.
So obviously, we got things sorted out, and you know, we got back together and everything else. And then obviously, I applied for my residency and shit, and sorted that all out. And that was when I obviously went down and worked for Tony.
Yep. Nice.
So, yeah, Tony was always accommodating. He was lovely. And he let me go and do my bits and pieces when I needed to. Obviously, when it was winter in Sydney, it was, you know, it was a bit seasonal.
Yep.
It was starting to get cold. People didn't want to get tattooed, you know what I mean, in the cold.
Yep.
So I used to go traveling all the time, you know what I mean? I'd go to America and go and see my mates in Kentucky again.
Yep.
And San Francisco. And it was good. People were very accommodating. They were always, you know, not in open arms, but the thing is when you have a friendship with somebody,
yep,
you know, they just like to see what you've been doing as well, you know.
Totally. Yeah, you're bringing in the you know, the new news or the new stories or whatever, what's happening over there, because amazing. But yeah, it is like that. Like tattooing was definitely very seasonal, and if you know, if you can jump out for a couple of months, everyone else in the shops getting fed quite well, and then you come back again.
Well, that was the good thing with my partner. She was allowing me to go for about 6 weeks and doing what I do, which was
nice.
Great. Just thought, wow, go on holiday and get out of my hair for a few weeks, you know.
yeah.
But no, it was good. I mean, I think I did about 5 or 6 runs to Paul Jeffries.
Yep.
And then a run to Vancouver and caught up with Kerry Irvine, and he did my chest panels and everything else.
Oh, wow, yep. I've heard Cliff talk of Kerry Irvine.
Yeah. He was a great guy. Poor guy, he only had one eye.
Yeah.
I think he had a kidney.
Wow.
And he was slow, but he was very, very articulate. You know, he was everything was spot on. He wasn't happy if it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But lovely guy. Same good deal again. You know, I was staying in Vancouver, and he said, "Well, where you staying?" I was like, "Oh, I've got a hotel." You know, I'm just sort of, no, you don't want to be doing that. He's like, you know, you can come and stay with me. So I sort of you know, cut my lunch really, because obviously I ended up saving a load of money, but I ended up spending a load of money because I got tattooed by him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, crazy.
did that a couple of times to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, when we was at Smiling Buddha, obviously the Brett Schwitt had just started as well, because Troy didn't stay too long. It wasn't his cup of tea. It was too cold.
Oh, mate, from Miami. Yeah.
He loves the sun, you know what I mean? He loves the women. And obviously there's lots of women and lots of sun in Miami. So he felt he was missing out a little bit, you know, so he went back home. But when I left, Brett Schwitt took over my spot, and then Dustin Crouch, I can never say his surname, Little Dustin, and he worked for the Dutchman as well. He worked for Paul for a while.
Yeah.
Then he moved back to Vancouver, and he worked for the Dutchman for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, amazing.
And then what did Dustin actually opened his own shop called Five Fathoms, which is sort of in the middle of Calgary and Vancouver. It's in the mountains, you know.
Wow.
From what I believe, I never actually ever got there, you know.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people that came through there. I mean, obviously there's lots of stories to tell, but obviously we're going to
totally. Hey, while we're still on Canada and like the Aussie connection, like, did you ever come across Cliff overseas, or did you end up meeting him back in Australia?
Cliff, when I went and worked for Kim.
Yeah.
Cliff's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
But when I was working at Kim's, he slid in a few times, and he was just sussing out what was going on. He was from Brisbane, wasn't he? He's a Brisbane boy.
Yeah, and I think he'd come back. And
he was doing the little shop tours, going around and sussing out what was going on. And everybody knew exactly what he was up to. I thought he was pulling the wool over people's eyes. Next minute he's opened a shop. And obviously then Josh went and worked for Cliff then. That was down...
back at Burke Street.
Yeah, that was on Burke Street, yeah. There was a little small shop, more of a custom sort. It was perhaps one of the first custom shops as such in Sydney. I got tattooed by Josh, and I never got tattooed by Cliff. It was really weird. I never sort of saw much of his work. I think he was more of a, he was a boss, and he did a few bits and pieces, but I never saw no big back jobs or anything like that. He always talked about the Dutchman because he worked for the Dutchman.
Totally.
I think he went and saw Paul at one stage, but I don't know if he got a job there or not. But Cliff's a lovely guy, mate. You know.
Cool.
He is who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I know more than most. I was with him for 5 years, so nice.
Yeah. And I think at one stage down there at that street in Burke Street, I think he was looking at expanding, and I don't think I hit the criteria. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, fair enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's when he opened Crown Street.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because he had the shop in Crown Street for a while, and then he got that house, didn't he? It was further up.
That's right, yeah. Big old beautiful terrace house. That's when I started working there. So, hey, mate, we're deviating a bit. So, all right, you're back with Tony. And how long was that stint in Sydney? Because I think Duncan asked last night, like, that's when you met Cosmo. Was that on that trip?
People, you know what I mean? Cosmo came into Kim's again. Cosmo came to Kim's, and basically he's a character and a half, mate. You know what I mean? He's a brilliant guy. He's got a heart of gold. I miss him dearly, you know what I mean? Because I've rest in peace, the poor guy. And, mate, he did a lot for me, you know what I mean? It was sort of one of those things, same again, there was no internet, backwards and forwards. He'd come to Sydney and stay in the winter and work. And I think he did a stint at Kim's, and then he did a little stint at Tony's as well. But he loved Australia. He loved the Australian music. He loved the Australian tattoo scene and everything else. And he had quite a good repartee, in town sort of thing.
Yeah, nice.
But, and then obviously, me and him just hit it off, we were mates. And that's when I actually went to Philadelphia one time, and I met Terry Baker, TV.
Right. Okay,
And he's from Geelong. He worked for Chris Reed and everything else. And we became friends, you know what I mean? So that's what happened. So obviously, I think we got up to about 2000. At 2000, Henning offered me a job in Helsingborg.
Because I remember you saying you wanted to get out because of the Olympics.
Yes. The Olympics was coming. But, there's going to be 3 or 4 million people coming to town. It's going to be chaotic. Don't really want to be let's go. So I took my 2 children and I took a Lala, and we went to obviously housing hall. But what we did was we flew to England. I bought a car and then travelled all out through Europe, and then we got to Hennings and we started from there.
Yeah, cool.
But Hennings was lovely, you know what I mean? He's a great artist. He's so solid, and he's so precise about everything he does, you know what I mean? He's a brilliant tattooer, you know what I mean? But it's just that with the politics and everything else, with what was going on there, I mean, it was all over the news. Else. We were there, or I got there. Basically, the Hells Angels and the Banditos were sort of having a howl, you know what I mean?
Yeah, big mad biker wars.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Banditos bazooka club the clubhouse, you know what I mean, from the motorway, blew the fucking place.
It was hit, mate. I remember that used to even make the news back here, you know, because it was so crazy. And Canada had its big, like, crazy wars as well.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You know? And it was mad because I had 2 young children, and everything. And Henning was sort of always sitting on the on the fence, because obviously he knew loads of guys from both clubs and everything else.
Yeah, you gotta
keep the peace sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting a clubhouse opening up at the back of his studio, and it was just like, man, this is a bit too heated for me, you know what I mean? It was
especially like your missus a long way from home, kids a long way from home. Like,
my brother was only just turned 1, I think it was.
Yeah.
And my son was 3, and I was just like, man, I don't really want to get caught up in this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, things happened, and I ended up leaving. You know what I mean? It was just like,
cool. Where were you at? Where'd you go to after Denmark?
Well, we just went back to England for a little while. I think we spent Christmas there, and then we ended up coming back home to Australia. Yeah, and then I ended up back for Tony again. You know, I went and saw Tony, and I got there again, and basically worked for Tony for a while. You know. Yeah. And then
did you manage to calm the travelling urges, or you were still off every winter?
No, I was still like, man.
Even to this day, you're still a mad traveller.
Yeah, I had itchy feet. So basically, it got to the stage where things were going to be, the relationship was breaking down a fair bit and everything else. Yeah. And then TB sort of said to me, all right, mate, how you going? And touch base. I went down there and guest spot. And basically I offered a job down there. So I ended up going to work down there, and obviously, I mean, I knew Chris Reed and everything else. He was a brilliant guy, and Pato and all that sort, and Dwayne. Yeah. Stan. You know, there was a good crew down there. So I was just like, you know what? Instead of sitting around and being negative, let's go and do something positive, you know? Yeah, cool. So I moved to Geelong, really. I ended up going to work at Custom Culture with Terry, and I worked there for a few years. Yeah. And then I ended up going around to the ink spot and working there, and then I did a few bits and pieces. I worked for Terry when he opened Jinx Proof after Chris Reed. Yeah. Sold to him. And then I ended up doing a little stint over in Western Australia. Right. So I went over there to, what was it called? Wanneroo Tattoo Band. Was it Abandon Ink? So, yeah, I went there and worked with Alan Jolly. No. Joel, rings a bell. I phoned the other night with Jed. Oh, so yes. Sorry. Yeah. Joel, yeah. Games and everything. Yes. Yeah. So I now fits in. Joel, you know, and Joel put me up and everything else, and I did about 6 or 8 months stint there. You know what I mean? Going backwards, forwards, just keeping an eye on everything else, and like what at this stage, Bish, you've obviously been tattooing for 15 odd years or more, or something like that. So you're like killing it, mate, and you've worked with all of these amazing people. You know, been to so many conventions. What was your main style you were doing then, or did you want to do? Was it all Japanese or anything? I think when I started working at Kim's, I was allowed to do a bit of custom stuff. Yeah. And that was also good as well, in the fact that she actually let you do what you wanted to do. And then obviously Tony's was more of a street shop. So it was basically you did what was on the walls and everything else. So really I was a bit more of a street guy than I was a custom sort of an artist. You know what I mean? And I wanted a brand. obviously, and do what I wanted to do. But obviously,
Yeah.
you have to find the right clientele and the people that like your style
Totally.
to allow you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So Geelong's a nice bit of a sleepy hollow because it's only an hour from Melbourne. But the thing is, of the day is obviously you've got to be able to produce the artwork and show people what you're capable of doing to get the work.
Yeah.
And I found a few guys here that I've done. The Dean Slevin, I ended up doing I have done a whole bodysuit on him.
Yeah.
And a few other guys that I did back jobs on and stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty sad because obviously my Instagram account, I've got not really a lot of stuff on there. But because a lot done with cameras and photos, I really need to do a bit of groundwork and get my photographs out and start putting some of the stuff up,
Mate, you got some time now. I think a lot of people, mate, I was going through photos today and I was like, oh, fuck. I forgot I had all this stuff. So, yeah, it's good.
It's weird. I've got a box full of T-shirts and I must have about, I don't know, 30 or 40 tattoo T-shirts. And I mean, going all the way through San Francisco from all the guys out there. And it's weird because some of them you wear out because you like them so much and you never get a chance to replenish.
Totally.
Not a great shot. I've got some from back when Aaron had a shop, obviously everlasting,
Yeah.
But, and I got loads of stuff. I had some Ed Hardy ones. I think I had, a little bit from everybody,
Yeah.
And you just collect these things and keep them because obviously it's a reminder. And it's a bit like my body as well.
Yeah.
I've got tattooed by that many artists.
Yeah, well, talk about that. Like, I remember you telling me a crazy story. You were in San Francisco for 2 weeks and you got tattooed for fucking 10 days.
Yeah. Well, the thing is obviously, when I got to San Francisco and I realised what these cool cats were doing and everything else, I was like, man, I've got the money in my pocket. I want to get tattooed by everybody. And the thing was, and it was quite funny. It just sort of snowballed. I think I got tattooed by Jeff Rasher. I got tattooed by Elio. I got tattooed by Mark Checo. I got tattooed by Aaron Kane. Mike Davis, who now owns, obviously, Everlasting. Dog, he did a little graffiti piece on me. And then I ended up going to see Eddie Deutsch and getting a nice piece off of him, So
nice.
It was cool, I mean, because that was the epicenter of obviously America.
Where was Eddie Deutsch at that time? Was he still at Tattoo City?
Still, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's still at Tattoo City, the old shop. But I never got to see Bill. I never got to see Bill Salmons, even though he was just around the corner. It was one thing that I regretted that I didn't go and say hello. Bill was alive, because I loved that front thing that Ed Hardy done on him, that big wolf thing.
The big three-eyed tiger, I think it was. And
Holyfields met Theo Jack. And he's a funny character. Obviously, I'm later on down the road when I was working at Hennings as well, because he resides now in Sweden. So he was a cool cat. And then obviously I went to Ed's and met all the guys there, because obviously you had Freddie Corbin, Rigor Mortis. And then
Igor Mortis.
That's it.
So I've got a funny story about Igor Mortis, right? He worked at Sleeve Masters for a period of time. I think the late 90s. And basically Fred Heinrich thought Igor was like jumping the queue and stealing customers. So the story goes, he touched him up and put him in a room out the back and nailed the door shut and called up Greg and goes, I've got this cunt that's fucking stealing work. What do you want me to do with him? And Greg's like, let him out, mate. Let him out. And I just found, locked him in the storeroom. I just found photos maybe a month ago and I sent them to him. Because I think he's in Europe now somewhere. And he was like, man, that was an insane time. So, but he was
well.
Yep.
Yeah. But I've got tattooed by a lot of the guys, I mean, Mike Ledger, I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Oh, what did Mike Ledger do on you?
He did a massive big dragon up the back of my leg and up my ribs and everything else, and he sort of finished my my ribs as such, because obviously Mark Checo did most of it, and then he finished it up and put the bars and the cherry blossoms and everything else, and he did this sort of Tibetan skull in
Yeah.
some really weird colours, but obviously it worked. It was like purples and browns and sort of yellows, but man,
Yeah.
it is one of my favourites as well, you know.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
it's good. You know, there's a lot of good people there. Like it's like even like at Howie's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Howie's was great as well in the fact that he had a lot of guest artists come there and work at the shop, and obviously that's when I met, you know, Gibson and obviously Mike
Yeah.
Wilson, and I got a nice little piece off of Mike Wilson, but we won't
Yeah.
show you.
Hey,
But
just out of curiosity, Bish, like how much room have you got left? You must be close to being suited.
oh, I'm suited, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
After
Who did your back for you?
Darren, well, Darren did really. You know,
Yeah.
it's still not finished as such. You know,
Yeah.
it was one of those deals. Darren's a bit of a Picasso. You know what I mean? He copies a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
look, we all did. I'm not slaying
Totally.
that.
Yeah.
So I one of the remember I got the tiger, the saber-toothed tiger, like across my shoulders.
Yeah.
And then got a dragon, sort of like an Ed Hardy sort of a dragon style down the bottom there with loads of blue water and everything else, because obviously the previous verse was in there and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still got a bit on it to go, you know. I've still not got it finished.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've got little spots around my waist because obviously I've got all my arse done and everything else.
Yeah.
I've got like a belt of masks. So I've got one by Bernie Luther, who I met in New York.
Yeah.
One by Boston. One done by Eddie Deutsch.
Yeah.
And then round the side, Aaron Kane did me a sort of a biomechanical, like Ganesh.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, my bodysuit is sort of if I liked your style and that's what I wanted,
Yeah.
what I did, you know, and it was weird. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different people, and I've not necessarily got tattooed by all of them because obviously,
Yes.
run out. I've still got the gap up through the front, and I've still got the neck.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's where obviously the tattoo industry, a lot of people didn't get their hands done until
Totally. Totally.
you know, obviously doing traveling as well. You didn't want to stand out like a sore thumb.
No, mate, going through borders, you'd have a nice haircut, you'd dress nice.
Stuff like that with you, and you're getting pulled over, and it's like, what the fuck's going on here? You know what I mean? So you sort of had to play calm and cool, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a good time, you know? I met all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And worked alongside a lot of great people. So, you know, I've had a good time, really, at the end of the day.
Totally.
You know?
And now you've pretty much been... Geelong would be like your longest stint anywhere, I'd imagine, apart from growing up in England.
Yeah. I mean, I've been down there. I think I moved down to Geelong in about, I think it was 2002 or 2003.
Yeah.
So I've been there sort of 20 years now, I suppose, really. Nearly 20 years.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's been good, you know. I've got my house now, and you know, the lifestyle at the moment. Now I'm working obviously the Australian ink spot.
Yeah.
Because obviously I had the shop there at one stage. I had, you know, we had a
colours.
Yeah, and then I had colours. So colours was good up to a certain. I think ran for. I was in that studio there for about 4 years. Changed 2 names.
Yeah.
Because I had a partner at one stage, and then my mum became very seriously ill, so she ended up getting. She was, you know, sick.
Yeah.
So the thing was, it was like, you know what? It's been 20 odd years, and I've never really been able to spend a lot. I used to go back to England every 2 years and sort of spend a couple of weeks. So I ended up going back because obviously my mum was seriously sick, you know. So I was like, you know what? I hate to say it, this is my mother. I her, and she's seriously ill. I need to sort this out.
Yeah.
Get a bit emotional now. But
no, power to you, man. It's totally.
I know to England.
Yeah.
So I was back there for about 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I think it was at the end of it. You know, it was just sort of on the brink of nearly 3.
Yeah.
So there I worked with a couple of cool cats. You know what I mean? I worked a couple of cool studios, and then I opened my own studio for a little bit.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, Portsmouth being Portsmouth, where I was working, it was sort of like it was a hairdressing salon, but it was split down the middle. So I had one side, he had the other side. He was the only town that didn't have shutters on the front,
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I saw opportunity, and they basically broke in and stole all my stuff.
Fuckers. Yeah.
So basically, I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm not, I'm not done. So I ended up going down the road. A friend of mine, Kingston,
Yep.
Scotty Hans, and he's a brilliant guy. His father was a tattooer. His brother's a tattooer. Does amazing black and grey work. So I
Yep.
worked there for about 8 months, and I think he knew what the deal, what it was on the horizon. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like I ended up losing my mother, and I was
Yep.
like, you know, my home was here because I had my house still,
Yep.
and basically I shipped my cars back, and then sort of I got offered a job obviously with Dwayne, and
Yep.
then I basically returned. You know, I came back and did a little guest spot just before Christmas, and then obviously I moved straight back out here after about 3 months.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
you know,
Nice.
I'm settled, getting a good clientele, and I'm getting a lot
Yep.
of my clients. You know,
Yeah.
obviously
Nice.
I'm clients because obviously I was gone for 2 years. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
people,
but
you know,
I think after time, like we've
I can't
yeah, I
expect
think
people.
we spoke about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they find you again, mate.
of course they will. You know, and with the
Yeah.
COVID thing, obviously since I've been back, it was last March.
Yeah.
You know, one minute you're open, the next minute you close. You're open, the next minute you close. And then obviously you can't go out, so you can't meet people. You can't go to the
Yeah.
pub or catch
Yeah.
up with people. So
Yeah.
it's all working out, you know. So,
Yeah. It's
but it's
crazy.
totally coming together. I've got a load of sleeves on the go. I've got a couple of backs
Yeah.
on the go.
Yeah.
You know, I've got things coming together. So it's going to be good
Yeah.
to get back to work.
Yeah.
So,
And mate, coming into summer as well, it's gonna be good.
yeah,
Like I think I think you guys are getting some sort of roadmap soon. We are here as well, but whether you trust it or not, who knows? Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you, Bish, like with all your fabricating, all your car stuff and everything, like have you ever built tattoo machines of your own or built frames and stuff?
no, no, I haven't. No,
Yeah.
the only machine building I did was obviously the Mickey B's, because obviously
Yep.
I'd get sent to me in parts,
Yep.
and then I'd put them all together and dial them in and everything else.
Yep.
Because Mickey, I mean, fair guy, he was a brilliant guy. He
Yep.
was always good to me. We had
Yep.
this trust thing going on, and he'd basically give me, you know, a certain amount of machines, and
Yep.
then I'd send him the money. So the thing
Yep.
was, in these days, I'd always keep going back to him. I got ink off of him. I got needles off
Yep.
of him. I got tubes off of him, and I got a fair bit of stuff of him. You know, and it was, you
Yeah.
know,
Amazing.
and obviously people were interested in buying this stuff because obviously it wasn't produced in Australia.
Yes.
But you know,
And like top quality. Mate, I
yeah,
think I met Mickey B in maybe 96, and Ozzy from Bristol sent me up to see him up to Coventry, and
yeah,
I was a little backpacker, mate. I was broke, and I think I just bought a bunch of tubes and I think a set of coils, right? And I,
yeah.
I couldn't afford a machine, and he's like, "Oh, here you go, mate. Have this and just sort me out when you
That's
can." I'm like,
what it
"Really?"
was.
I'm like, "Wow, really? You serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, mate, no drama, dude." I was like, "Yeah," and I did similar. Went back a few times, but
Yeah,
Dave Ayres used to buy loads of machines and take them to Amsterdam and sell them over there too.
yeah. He was great like that. You know, what I mean, he had a guy in there called Roy, and he was brilliant because obviously he would sort everything out for Mickey. You know, Mickey was the
Yep,
sort of man. You know, he had his machine shop and bits and pieces going
yep,
on, and he had Jimmy Jack at one stage putting all his
yep,
machines. And then obviously Jimmy went back up to Scotland, I believe,
yep,
and their friendship sort of parted waves. I don't
yep.
think it was negative. It was just that he went back to Scotland. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
just what happens.
So then he ended up taking on another guy that had a machine shop in Coventry, and then he was helping him out doing machines. Now there was a little tricky area there. Mickey got slashed up one time. He came out the pub, and they basically some
Yep.
guy approached and stabbed him and put all his intestines on the street. You know,
Whoa.
he
Yeah.
lost about half of. He said it was about half a football length of intestines that he lost,
Wow.
and he wasn't happy about it because obviously Mickey did like a drink. You know what I mean? And
He
I'm
did.
sure he
He did.
never
He
died.
did. Yep.
Perhaps because he was drunk. That's the reason why he didn't die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yep.
I got all the time in the world for him. You know, when he was
Yep.
around. You know what I mean? And I do
Yeah.
truly.
Totally.
I actually caught up with him when I went back to England one time and we went to, I think it was can't remember what, I think it was in Birmingham. Me and Darren went up there, you know, and we went to a convention up there. Because obviously when I go back, I did perhaps a little stint with Darren, you know, worked a couple of weeks there, and you know, and he'd moved and everything else. And that was always good because obviously Darren was working so hard, he could never get time off. So I'd always go there perhaps when he went on holiday, you know what I mean? So I'd like tattoo
fill his chair.
So he had some money for when he came back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, it was good fun, you know?
Yeah, awesome. Hey, just briefly, like we were talking before off camera, like didn't you go to like the New York opening convention or something after they legalized it or something like that?
I went to the Eastside Inc. They'd opened up in New York because obviously in New York was illegal to tattoo, same as Massachusetts, and basically that was a 40-year stint. You know what I mean? That they wanted to actually open studios, and I think what prompted it because obviously Jonathan Shaw had his studio on St. Mark's Place, I believe it was, and he was advertising, flashing lights. I think Chris Garber was there and a few of the heavy hitters, and they all worked for Jonathan then. And I think people were just getting, obviously it was becoming annoying because obviously it's a bit like COVID. You can't do nothing. You got your hands. You didn't want to get sued. You didn't want to get marched up the road. So all these sort of like custom studios were opening up in apartments. So I think actually opened up on St. Mark's Place before it moved down on Avenue B. Or I think it was Avenue A first. So we did that thing. I met this lovely girl, Andrea. She put me up and everything else. And that was the weekend I was there. Well, I was there for about 6 weeks. So incredible tattoo studio, which was in New Jersey. Good friend of mine, Kerry Brief. He was putting a convention on. Now, lo and behold, this was the weekend Geiger was coming over from Europe.
Okay.
Exhibition, I believe, in New York City with all these alien sort of stuff. And I believe I didn't actually go to the exhibition. I can't even remember where it was. I think it was in New York. But the actual convention was just over the bridge in New Jersey. So I ended up having a booth there, and Andrew and Elio worked the booth for me, and I was just selling a few odds and sods, you know. And you know, booth because obviously Andrew specialised in a little bit of that Geiger stuff, and so did Elio. And basically, he came to the booth. I got introduced to him and everything else. And basically, they had a chin wag and everything else. So it was good to meet the guy, you know what I mean? And sort of
mate, legendary. He had such a big influence on tattooing, you know.
But,
but Andrea as well. Like, she was one of the powerhouse female tattooers.
Oh, yeah, because obviously...
You know, Eastside Inc. is legendary.
Yeah, that's when the females started coming into play, you know. Obviously, back in the 80s, there weren't as many female tattooers, but obviously into the 90s, there were a lot of female tattooers coming up on the grid, you know what I mean? And she did
totally.
You know what I mean? She did some awesome work.
Yeah.
But I think she's sort of semi-retired now. I think she's retired she lives in Texas and everything else.
Nice.
But she did a lot.
I think a lot of people are moving to Texas these days. It seems to be.
Well, it's but lots of people moving out of California and going to Texas.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's obviously the new. That's because obviously, I think that's the new San Francisco for the tattoo industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's some big, massive tech hub or something as well. So who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
But yeah, that little period there where it was all illegal. You know, it was quite annoying because of the fact that you know you couldn't open a studio up on the street.
Yeah, and mate, Jonathan Shaw was like Mr. Flamboyance, wasn't he?
Oh, of course he was. Yeah, he was in every magazine doing this.
He was tattooing Johnny Depp, like Iggy Pop, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was weird. And then when obviously I did a convention, we did that incredible convention, and I think then we ended up, the Montreal convention was on, and we ended up, me, Andrea, and Laurie, we ended up getting a train all the way up to Montreal and doing that convention. And then obviously I brought up with a load of friends from Canada because obviously the costing came to that, and I ended up crashing with him and his sister quite a lot. And it was another good convention where, you know, you catch up with all these people from all over the country that
Yep.
you know, you've got a good repartee with. You know what I mean?
Mate, so, hey, I just popped into my mind a funny, you might know this, a funny Jonathan Shaw story. So a well-known Aussie tattooer wanted to get some of that little, he used to do this little scribbly angular tribal and do his signature in it, JS.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah,
guy
JS.
said to him, I don't want you to sign it. So he went, oh, yeah, whatever. So blah, 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 did the tattoo. But the tattoo was a bit of tribal that said JS, you know, in all his squiggles. Like, yeah, he was out of control. Last time,
Yeah.
I think he's living in Brazil now, and he's some sort of, I don't know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I mean, that's another way to go as well. Brazil, you know, it's another one.
here we go. Jed said he's got one about JS as well. So maybe after this, Bish, me, you, Jed, and Tony, because we've all been on these last few nights. You worked with Tony for a long time. So did Jed. It's been good to get Tony back on. We can come back on around 8:15. I'll ring Tony. I'm pretty sure he will. If he's there, Tony, get ready, and we can just have a last little blast, mate, of old school banter, if that works.
Yeah, so you know, I've had a good little hit, you know, innings, and I've met a lot of great people, and all the people I appreciate, and all the hospitality and everything else.
Yeah.
And I've met those people that, you know, I appreciate. Same as Howie, you know, I mean, I went backwards and forwards there loads and loads of times, you know what I mean? I remember there was an incident there, you know, he had this rock and roll wrestling thing on.
Right.
And he had this this hall set up because he was like a wrestling promoter as well as a tattooer.
Yeah.
And he set this there was like a little sort of south hall sort of thing, and there was bleachers in there and everything else. Mate, the attendance of people that came there was like about 250 people. There was like people, you know, wrestling on, you know, there was like barbed wire around the thing, and then there was wrestling. There was like punk rock bands in between each fight.
Yeah.
Went off. It kicked off at one stage. There was a massive big brawl in there, mate. It was like a mental sort of. It all stuck. And you had all the, you used to get a lot of the old ladies and everything else because they love that wrestling stuff, mate.
Yeah.
They get so involved in it and they start shouting and screaming and all. And he had the crowd by the palm of his hands.
Yeah.
There was another guy we didn't mention as well, Lucky Diamond Rich.
There you go. Yes.
I met him through Duncan.
Yep.
So basically, I met Richie and everything else, and I ended up doing. He had a bodysuit already, and I ended up doing his ribs.
Yep.
And then he got jack of that. That was when he decided he wanted to become the most tattooed man in the world.
Yep.
So basically, I started the Black Project on him at Tony's.
Wow.
We started that. I think I started sort of a 3/4 sleeve, just solid black, just going over everything. I said, "You sure you want to do this?" He said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Because
he had a good bodysuit.
Oh yeah, he had a full bodysuit before he did that. You know, and basically, I started that off on him, and then he ended up going to Europe. And I think, you know, Richie's one of those guys. He's very convincing. He's got a way with his words. He tends to get things done, and he ended up getting his whole bodysuit done. I think Zed Lahead did a load of it, and Alex Binney did a load of it, and there was a few hitters in Europe that did a load of it, and then he ended up coming to see me when I was working at Hennings, and I think it was Hennings that I actually finished the last bit off. He said, "You start it, and you can finish." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough." And it was right on his ass, cracking everything else. I was like, "My God, really? The last bit, and you give me that?" But you know, great character. Yeah. He had a cobweb on his ass thing that I think.
Who did the raccoon look? Do you know who did that?
I can't remember who did it. I think he got that done in England because obviously, I think Zed did he had all those triangles and everything on his face at one stage, and then he had a load of stuff on his forehead as well. But then when he got all done black, then he was going white over the black as well. Yeah.
Like I've met Rich a few times, mate. He is a character, and even though, you know, he's obviously an eyeful because of his visual appearance, he's got a presence with that. But even if he was a normal person, not a normal person, if he was a clean skin, he would still have some sort of magical presence.
Of course,
because there's something.
He was
Yeah.
carny, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, he even came and stayed, you know, he would come and stay with me whenever he had the opportunity to come and stay, you know. The
Yeah.
couch was all there. You're welcome, you know, with open
Yeah.
arms, you know. Great guy, you know. The
Yeah.
poor fella,
Crazy.
he's had some ups and downs in his life, you know what I mean? And obviously, you
Yeah,
know,
mate. Yeah,
you know, that's
that's
the way the world, you know, out rolls, isn't it? You know what I mean?
totally, totally. So with now, Bish, you're back in Geelong. You're mainly doing, you know, Japanese stuff, I see, but you can still do everything. What's your
Oh, yeah.
preferred stuff to do, or just
Yeah.
whatever?
Do everything that comes in the door, really. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I get busy enough because obviously I've only been back since the COVID. I got
Yeah.
in 2 days before it bloody shut down.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
basically, I'm just trying to hustle and do lots of drawings and stuff and bits
Yeah.
and pieces and trying to get the work in. But obviously, I'll do
Yeah.
anything. You know, I mean, obviously working in the street shops most of my life. You know,
Yeah.
you know, and the problem is nowadays they all bring it in on their phones. So the thing is,
Totally,
today
totally.
you just print
Tony's
it off.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you
Yeah.
just print it off and tattoo them. You know, what I mean, if that's what they want, they can have it. And I think,
Yeah.
and the deal at the end of the day is, I think if you treat your customers the way you want to be treated yourself,
Yeah.
you tend to get a good repartee. You know what I mean?
Totally. And I think, you know, just from your life in general, Bish, you can talk to anyone, and probably on pretty much any subject as well, because you've had such a wide and interesting life, which
Yeah,
helps a lot as well.
that's it. I mean, I'm not sort of out there and in your face. You know, I mean, I'm always like to be in a bit of the background. I sort of tend to
Yeah.
analyse and work out
Yeah.
people, what and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm not a front person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
obviously, you know, the size of me, sometimes people are a little intimidated, and that's what they tell me sometimes. But I think
Yeah.
once they get to know me and know, you
Yeah.
know, how I like to speak to people and treat people,
Yeah,
I've
mate.
had a lot of confidence from a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like mate, I love it. Like whenever you've come through Sydney, like, you know, you've always come and hung out and we've gone for dinner,
Yeah.
whatever. It's been a highlight for me. You know, like the guys in the shop love it. Like, you know, we had dinner, like, you know, Cole met you years ago. You gave Cole his first tattoo machine, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when you tattooed his arm. So, you know,
Yes.
you've had a big impact on a lot of people, man, and still plenty more to go, which is
Yeah.
exciting.
I just think when you think you are the shit,
Yeah, you know.
and you're on the top of the scale,
Yeah.
you've really got to sort of keep that up constantly, because obviously,
Yeah.
as soon as you step out of line, you're on the downhill. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the thing is I've never got to the top, and I don't want to get to
Yeah.
the top. You know,
Yeah.
an all round. I mean, I just try and
Yeah.
I have to do. I put a clean tattoo on. If people like my stuff, they like my stuff, and if they don't, they don't. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just one of those.
Yeah, so what's the best way for people to contact you? Just through your Instagram or a website?
Well, I've got
or
a couple of, you know, tattoos by Bish with
Yep.
hyphens in between, and then obviously I've got Limey Bish. Now,
Yep.
obviously, a lot of people ask me why Limey Bish. Well, the thing is obviously in America, they you know, it's like you call the English Poms, you know what I mean? Because obviously
Yep.
of that deal, and then
Yep.
obviously the Americans call us Limeys, because obviously when people came from England over to America, you used to put limes on the shit so you didn't get scurvy.
Right, I didn't know that. There you go.
Yeah, so basically that they used to call me Limey Bish or Slimy
Yep.
or Limey. Or I've had that many, you know, I've had that many nicknames: Tuck Shop, Buddha, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, and all, you know, from friends and stuff like that. It's all a joke, you know what I mean. But I've had that many nicknames in my time, you know. Perhaps that's where a lot of people go off the beaten track and realise, is this the same sort of guy? I've got that many
Yeah,
aliases.
but they're all terms of endearment, mate. Like it's good.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
good.
The same as a lot of people don't know my name was Simon, see?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows me as Bish, and they don't know my real name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy,
But
man. I remember when I was traveling, like you would do solid travel with dudes for years, live in houses with them, all this sort of stuff, and you just know their nickname. You know, you wouldn't know their proper name, same thing. All right, mate, let's wrap it up, but we'll come back at 8:15 for
Okay, mate.
another
Cool.
little old school blast. So go to the toilet, people. I'll do these little things, and then we'll get Tony and Jed in.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, everyone. See you soon.
Bye. Bye.